Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there was a beautiful princess named Snow White. She had skin as white as snow, lips as red as a rose, and hair as black as ebony. Snow White's mother died when she was very young, and her father, the king, remarried. His new wife, the queen, was very beautiful, but she was also very proud and very jealous. The queen was known for her beauty, and she loved to be admired by everyone. Every day, she would look into her magic mirror and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror would always reply, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." The queen was always happy when she heard this, and she believed that no one could ever be more beautiful than she was. But as the years passed, Snow White grew older and more beautiful. She inherited her mother's beauty, and everyone in the kingdom admired her. One day, when the queen asked her mirror the same question, the mirror gave an answer she wasn't expecting. It said, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." The queen was furious. She couldn't believe it. How could Snow White, her own stepdaughter, be more beautiful than her? The queen became very jealous, and her heart was filled with anger. She could not bear the thought of anyone being more beautiful than she was. The queen decided that Snow White must be removed from the kingdom. She called the royal huntsman to her palace and gave him a cruel order: take Snow White into the forest and kill her. The huntsman was shocked. He had always been loyal to the queen, but he couldn't bring himself to harm the innocent princess. He took Snow White into the forest, but when they arrived, he looked into her eyes and saw her fear. He couldn't do it. He couldn't hurt her. "Run away, Snow White," the huntsman said. "Run deep into the forest and never come back. The queen wants to kill you." Snow White was terrified, but she thanked the huntsman and fled into the forest. The deep, dark woods seemed endless, and she didn't know where to go. She wandered for hours, feeling more lost and afraid with every step. The forest was dark and full of strange noises. Snow White was cold, hungry, and exhausted. She didn't know who to trust. Finally, after what felt like forever, Snow White saw a small house nestled in the trees. She knocked on the door, but no one answered. Cautiously, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The house was small but warm and inviting. Snow White entered and saw 7 little beds in one room, and the rest of the house was cozy and comfortable. Tired and weak, Snow White lay down on one of the beds and fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. When the 7 dwarfs returned home from their work in the mine, they were surprised to find Snow White sleeping in their house. The dwarfs were small, kind men, and they were at first shocked to see a beautiful young woman in their home. They had never seen anyone like her before. They didn't know who she was, but when Snow White woke up, she told them her story. She explained how the queen had tried to have her killed because of her beauty and how she had run away to save her life. The dwarfs were moved by Snow White's story and decided to protect her. "You can stay here with us," they said. "We will keep you safe." Snow White was very grateful and felt comforted by their kindness. She was now safe from the queen, and she had found new friends who would protect her. The dwarfs worked hard every day in the mine. They told Snow White to be careful and never open the door to anyone while they were away. Snow White promised to stay inside and be safe. However, the queen soon found out that Snow White was still alive. She was furious and desperate. She knew she had to kill Snow White herself. Using her dark magic, the queen disguised herself as an old woman. She made a poisoned apple, which was cursed. Anyone who ate the apple would fall into a deep, eternal sleep. The queen went to the dwarf's house and knocked on the door. When Snow White opened it, the old woman offered her the poisoned apple. "This apple is special," she said. It will make you feel better." Snow White, remembering the dwarf's warnings, hesitated at first, but the old woman insisted, "It's magic. You will feel wonderful after you eat it." Snow White, curious and trusting, took the apple and bit into it. As soon as she did, she fell to the ground in a deep sleep, never to wake up. The queen, seeing that Snow White had fallen, laughed and left, thinking that the princess was finally dead. When the dwarfs returned home and saw Snow White lying on the floor, they were heartbroken. They tried everything to wake her up, but nothing worked. They were sad and didn't know what to do. So they placed her in a glass coffin so they could always see her beautiful face, even though she wasn't alive. For many days, the dwarfs stayed by Snow White's side, crying and mourning for her. Then, one day, a prince from a nearby kingdom heard about Snow White's beauty and kindness. He had fallen in love with her, even though he had never met her. He went to the dwarf's house and saw Snow White lying in the glass coffin. He knelt beside her and kissed her gently on the lips. To everyone's amazement, Snow White's eyes opened. The kiss had broken the spell, and Snow White had awakened from her long sleep. The prince and Snow White were overjoyed to see each other. Snow White told the prince everything that had happened, and the prince promised to take her back to his kingdom. The dwarfs were happy for Snow White, and they wished her well. Snow White and the prince returned to the prince's kingdom, where they were married in a beautiful ceremony. Snow White became the queen, and she and the prince lived happily ever after. The queen, on the other hand, was punished for her evil deeds, and she was never seen again. Snow White and the prince ruled the kingdom with kindness and love, and they were loved by all the people.